Hello and welcome to the second presentation for our app, Pantry Pals. In this presentation, we will go over our user research, including interviews, personas, and scenario map, our affinity map and design requirements, and finally, our Wireflow. First, let's introduce our group and the roles we each had. Khalid handled our user research, Natalia worked on the persona and journey map, Paige is our team leader and arranged the affinity diagram, and finally, Noah put together our Wireflow. For our interviewees, we found 3 people who have similar demographics to our target audience. Our interviewees are all college students between the ages of 20 and 21. They have a limited income and are either living in a dorm or still live at home. For each of the interviews, we asked the same 5 questions, which we based off of our previous Disney creative thinking process. 1. Do you find that you have enough time to check your pantry to see if food's expired? How? 2. Do you use any method of inventory management? 3. Have you heard of or have you had any experience with pantry apps? 4. How often would you say you order out to avoid cooking? And 5. If you do find you've forgotten something in your fridge or pantry, what's the most likely reason why? For our first interview, when asked how often they check their pantry, they said they do so pretty often, about once a day, but not to check for expiration dates. Then when asked if they used any kind of inventory management, they stated they themselves don't, but their parents often do, with their dad especially enjoying meal prep. Next, when asked if they have heard of or had any experience with pantry apps, they stated that they have heard of them, but don't have any experience using one. For the fourth question, when asked how often they order out, the interviewee answered very often. They're not a very good cook, and while they would like to learn, they find they don't have the time to do so. Lastly, when asked if they've ever forgotten anything in their fridge and what would be most likely the reason, they answered they usually forget simply because it slips their mind, as they usually get easily distracted. During interview 2, we found that the interviewee checks their pantry once a week at the end of the week to keep up to date on their expiration dates. They don't have any kind of inventory management and will just shove everything into one area. And they have never used any pantry apps because they only store small amounts of food at a time and have never looked into it. We then found out that they only order out on a need-to basis, which is next to nothing, as they usually have the ingredients at home. Lastly, when asked about if they have forgotten anything in their fridge or pantry, they stated the only time anything is forgotten, it's because it's something no one wants to eat, as their family usually gets what they need. For our third interview, after being asked the same questions, we found out that they don't check their pantry for expired items, often because they don't have the time to. They also find a lot of different foods that have various expiration dates since they're not bought at the same time. As for inventory management, they keep all of their food all over the place, including their fridge and cabinets, and they've never heard of or had any experience with a pantry app before. They also state that they only order out a couple times a month because they can't afford it often. Usually when they do order out, it's because they think there is no food in their dorm, only to find out later they had food, but it's now expired and they can't use it. Lastly, they state they often forget about items because they are often out of sight, either being stuffed in the back of the fridge or being crushed at the bottom of their food basket. After collecting our interview data, we discussed the common themes. We noticed all 3 interviews talked about the availability of food. They often only go out to eat when they don't have any food at home. The third interviewee even states they don't even realize they still have food until after they eat out. Both interviewees 1 and 3 talked about how forgetful they were about the food they already had, making it harder to keep track of what they had or notice when something was about to expire. Both interviewees 2 and 3 talk about disorganization, with interviewee 3 stating they keep their food all over the place. This shows how food storage can be somewhat scattered and make it hard to remember what they have. All 3 interviews have different time frames on how often they are able to check their pantries. Interviewee 3 even stating they don't have enough time to check for expired items. None of the 3 interviews talk about having an inventory system in place to keep track of their food. The second interview states they just kind of shove everything into one area, while the third interviewee talks about leaving their food all over the place, whether that's in their fridge or in their cabinets. This shows most students don't have an organized way of sorting their food. Lastly, all of the interviews stated they were either unaware of a pantry app or they knew but never decided to use one. This suggests that they have awareness around these types of apps, but it might be fairly low for college students. Our first persona is Carla, the distracted home cook. She's a 21-year-old college student who lives with her parents. She would like to keep track of what's in her fridge in order for her to use all the food she buys. Therefore, she believes she would benefit from a simple and easy-to-learn app since she has moderate tech proficiency, specifically one that has reminders for when her food will expire since she gets distracted and forgets what's in her fridge, which causes her to end up ordering takeout. Our second persona is Pedro, the practical home organizer. He is a 20-year-old college student who also lives with his family. He would like to be reminded of what food items he has and which will expire soon to take into account what to cook. So even though he enjoys cooking, food often goes to waste if no one in his household is in the mood to eat it, or if they are unaware they have certain ingredients since their pantry is organized with everything being grouped together. Since he has a moderate tech proficiency and was unaware of pantry apps, he would prefer a simple tracking app. Our last persona is Bia, the busy dorm student. She is a 21-year-old college student who lives on campus in a dorm. She would like to have reminders for what food items she has in order to avoid spending money on takeout since she has a limited food budget. She often does turn to ordering food though, since she thinks there's nothing to eat, only to realize later that they were items they were just hidden behind other foods, and so now they're spoiled. Similarly to the other personas, she also has moderate tech proficiency, however, she has never used a pantry app before, and so she would prefer a straightforward, easy food tracking app. Our user journey map follows the busy dorm student. First, they encounter storing food. However, as different items have different expiration dates, it's quite hard to track, which gives our app the idea to allow for scanning an item by name or barcode, and thus showing each expiration date for each item. Additionally, by allowing the user to input the location of an item, it becomes easier for them to locate it and allows for it to not go to waste. The second issue they run into is the fact that they are often so busy they don't check which items will expire soon, thus allowing for reminders and notifications, which will help prevent such issue. Thirdly, they also have to decide what to eat, which often leads to takeout since they don't remember what they have or they can't find it. So by allowing for a list or view of what they have available, this allows for planning their meals and avoiding spending money on ordering food. Lastly, they run into the eventual issue of finding all their expired food, which they wasted money on. That by suggesting recipes involving the ingredients already in their pantry at least a week prior to the items expiring would help resolve the issue of wasting food. After looking at our interviews and personas, we brainstormed and created our affinity diagram. We split the diagram into 5 different themes. 1. Shopping/adding items to pantry. 2. Inventory management. 3. Expiration tracking. 4. Meal planning/recipe suggestion. And 5. Analytics. The 4 design requirements we found with our affinity diagram are that our app must allow users to easily add grocery items. By allowing users to be able to add items in different ways, like scanning a barcode or manually typing them, our reason for this is because it saves time and makes it easier for users to quickly update their pantries. The app must allow for organization and management of pantry inventory. Items should be sorted into categories, and users should be able to track things like quantity and expiration dates. They should also be able to edit items or mark them as used. Our reasoning is that it helps users know what food they have available and prevents buying anything extra on accident. The app should be able to help users track food expiration by sending notifications when items are about to expire and by using a color coding system to show how fresh an item is. Our reason is that it helps reduce food waste and reminds the user to use ingredients before they go bad. Finally, the app should help with meal planning and grocery shopping. It should suggest recipes based on the ingredients already in the pantry. Our reason is that this makes meal planning easier and helps users make better use of the food they already have. After gathering all this information, we finally develop our Wireflow. It starts with the user opening the app and being greeted by the starting page. The user is first prompted to either register for the app or sign in. If they are successful, they move on to the inventory page. If they are not, they will be sent to the forgotten password page, where they can reset their password. On the inventory page, users can view their pantry, search for items, and customize how they want their pantry to be sorted, and see recipe suggestions based on what items they have. They also have multiple ways to navigate depending on what they would like to do. They can go to the notification page with the icon on the top right corner to adjust and customize when and how they want to be notified. This page will also display which items are going to expire first. They can choose to add to the inventory with the plus icon using both the inventory barcode scanner and manual inventory entry. They can choose to add just one item or add multiple at the same time. At the bottom right corner of the inventory page is the grocery page. This will show them their grocery list, search for specific items, and let them be able to customize how they sort either by food item or purchasing need. They can also quickly add any inventory to their grocery list with the Add from Inventory Data button at the bottom of the page. If they would like to add to their grocery list, they can navigate to the Additional List page. This page also allows users to either add items to their grocery list manually or by searching for the food item. They can either add one item at a time or add multiple at the same time. Once they are finished, they can navigate back to the grocery page. Lastly is the settings page, which can be accessed from any of the other pages on the app. This page allows the user to look at their account, request app data, delete their account, or allows them to navigate back to the password page to change their password. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.